Do you know how intuitive you are? Do you know how creative you are? These are questions I commonly ask people when they come to me for a human design reading. And very often the response is no, or not so much, or yeah, kind of, yeah, but I don't really know what to do with that. I don't really know what that means. And I don't know if it's something I can trust. I mean, how do I know if I'm just making something up or not, if I'm just imagining it? In today's video, we're going to dive into why it is so important for you to connect with your intuition and your creativity, and how human design can help you do that. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Typically, when people come to me for a reading, it's because they are in a transition in their life, or they want to be in a transition in their life. A lot of times they've kind of gotten to a plateau. Either something has ended or something is ending. Many times people come when they've ended a job, or they want to end a job, or they're transitioning in their career, or they're really unhappy in the work that they're doing in the world, or their relationship isn't working and they want it to be different. They want to have a deeper sense of purpose in their lives. They want to feel that all of them is coming forward. They often suspect, and they, check to see if this is true for you, but they often suspect that there is a lot more to life than what they were taught and what they've been living. And there's very often a sense of being trapped to some degree, either being trapped or just frustrated if they're generators, maybe angry if they are manifestors, bitter if they're projectors, right? So we want to tune into those as signals to pay attention to, well, how are our lives going? Are they working for us? Right? Are they working for us? And I think more and more of us are realizing, no, lives are not working for us. I mean, even me, who has a pretty great life in a lot of ways, I still feel like, there's plenty of ways in which my life is not working for me to the degree that it could be. We sense this potential inside of us, right? We have enormous potential that we haven't realized. And a lot of times we're not even quite sure what it is. But just check it out for yourself. Do you ever kind of feel like your future is calling you forward? Like there's something in front of you, but you can't quite feel what it is. You don't quite know how to get there. And I think this is when you have the feelings like that, this is when people a lot of times turn to human design. Because human design can give us real direction and real guidance. The thing to realize is that if you want your life to be different, you need to live differently, right? And human design really can help with this. So let's talk about what's really at stake and maybe what's driving you from the inside to want to live differently. So what's at stake, number one, is our energy. It's like people are way too exhausted, overwhelmed, confused, burned out, right? Why is this happening? A lot of times the lives that we're leading, the way that we've been trained, right, isn't giving us the satisfaction and the fulfillment and the meaning and the purpose that we thought that it would. And then there's kind of this gap, right? It's like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? But then we also realize it's not just that, it's also our health, our well-being. Are we being sustainable in our lives? Right? Are we being sustainable in the world? These are big questions, right? You're experiencing it and I'm experiencing it in my individual life, you in your individual life. And yet these are also big collective issues. Now, the thing is that what are we suffering from, right? Because you can't get to the answer or resolve the issue if you're not sure what it is. And I think a lot of times what people are doing is they're focusing in the wrong place. They think, oh, I just need to take better supplements. Oh, I just need to, have better food, all of which are important, right? But we're not getting to the core. which is that we have been trained into left brain dominance. And this creates overwhelm, fatigue, lack of vitality. I recently heard from a new client of mine who is a medical professional that she said that actually left brain dominance can create thyroid issues. And thyroid issues are an epidemic, right? And the thing is that the left brain, it's powerful. We need it. We need to be able to think things through. We need to be able to analyze. We need to be able to strategize and plan. All of these are fundamental life skills that we absolutely have to have, right? If you ever wonder about that, go watch Jill Bolte-Taylor's TED Talk called My Flash of Insight, where she actually loses the functionality of her left brain, and what happens? She becomes completely unfunctional. So it's not that we want to throw out our left brain intelligence. Not at all. We absolutely need to have it. But if we're trained to believe that the only way that we engage with life, the only way we know what's true, the only thing that's valid is something that is logical, reasonable, rational, that we can count, that we can strategize, and all of that, right? If we get trained into that, then what happens is we cut out all these other intelligences that we naturally have. And then it's like you're operating on 2 cylinders when you actually have a V8 engine. Because the thing is that the analytical mind, as powerful as it is, as much like a computer as it is actually pretty limited because it's focused only on your human experience. It's really what's going on up here, right? And when you focus there a lot, you can get really disconnected from your body and become really disembodied, really dissociated. You just start to feel like a talking head that's interacting, like with your phone, or on your device or whatever, right? And we've all been trained to make decisions with our analytical minds, right? Make lists of pros and cons, really analyze all the data, see if it works strategically, and all of that. Again, important skills to have. But the thing is that the analytical mind actually does not have the capacity to make good decisions for you. I talk to people all the time when I'm doing readings, and I talk to people all the time when I'm doing readings, and they consistently tell me how overwhelmed they are, how confused they are, how they've got way too many thoughts, way too many ideas. There's just so much going on in there, and they can't seem to really settle. And this is what happens with that analytical mind, is it doesn't settle. It just keeps bouncing around. It has this idea and that idea, and what about this and what about that? And as soon as you make a decision, it goes, yeah, but you know what? You're going to miss out on this if you do that. Or if you go that way, what about this? That you could get in trouble with that. And people, it makes you crazy, right? But in human design, we understand that our authority, our inner authority, is how we best make decisions. And they are all intuitive. They're all intuitive, and they're embodied. So if you're trying to do it up here, you're kind of missing the whole point of what human design can offer you. But the challenge is that culture, Western culture, denigrates intuition for sure, and also creativity. Right? Tends to say, oh, that's really woo-woo. That's not true. You're just making that up. It doesn't really mean anything. Okay? But let's just step back for a minute and pause and consider the fact that we, humanity, have had the similar physiology for hundreds of thousands of years. The last thing I heard was 300,000. Okay, I thought it was 150, 300. Anyway, it's a really long time, right? And we've been left brain dominant for only about 500. So it's really, really recent. And that came in really with the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment in Europe. Those philosophers separated what they called nature and everything else that's not rational and logical, right? They separated themselves from that. They kind of made themselves into these analytical minds that were looking at everything else as a separate, that they could observe and analyze and manipulate. And that included the living world, but it also included like women, because women were considered part of nature. Also, many people of color were considered part of nature. And so this really fueled colonialism. And all of the dominant strategies that came out of that. So this is kind of the legacy of that left brain dominance. And the thing is when you're separate from something, it's much easier for you to subordinate it, right? It's easier to exploit it, to extract from it. Those things kind of make sense when you're looking at things as separate from you that you own or you have dominion over, right? And you can control it and manipulate it. And we've had, here in the West, we've had a huge rise in certain ways in our lifestyle as a result. I mean, the infrastructure that we have, the buildings that we have, the way that cities have gotten built. I mean, just so many things, right? Airplanes, cars, so many things grew out of this. But we're now starting to realize the consequences of this, right? Because we've also been suffering. We've been suffering with this left brain dominance because we are so much more than that. So we've been suffering in terms of our disconnection from the living world, right? Where we don't see ourselves as part of it, right? It's kind of like it's out there. Oh, I'm going to go to nature. I'm not nature. Nature's out there. But also because of this separation and the exploitation and the extractive practices that have happened, our world is really suffering, right? We now have toxins all over the place. We have pollution. Our oceans are suffering, our rivers, our mountains, our air, our water. It's like everything, right, is suffering. And that means we're also suffering, like our physical bodies. Like in the United States, the amount of chronic illness, it's really kind of obscene, in my view, in the wealthiest country in the world. And we have so much chronic disease because our environments are so challenging. So how do we find our way out of this? What do we do? Well, first of all, we need to unleash ourselves. Okay? We need to unleash ourselves from this left brain dominance. Not because we're going to completely get rid of those skills, we need them, but because we want to activate, awaken, and embody much more of who we actually are. And this includes our intuition and our creativity and our body wisdom. I invite you to explore this with me in an event called Unleash Yourself Intensive, which will be happening July 17th to the 21st. It's a free event. It's my gift to you. And every day we'll dive into an aspect of what we need to awaken and activate in ourselves so that we can unleash ourselves from the limiting beliefs, from the stuck energy and stagnant emotions that we have that are connected to earlier life experience that often are connected to things that just really weren't working for us, and many times grow out of this kind of left brain dominant behavior, right? We need to be able to unleash ourselves from that. So we're going to dive into all of that. And if you like this material, if you're attracted to it, this will lead into my Embody Your Human Design Through Creativity and Intuition program, which begins right at the end of July and goes through the first part of December. This is going to be an awesome program. I'm excited about it. And so if you're interested in that program, if you've been hearing me talk about it or you've already been on the webpage, come and check out this free event. We're going to focus on really looking at different models of the mind, for one thing, because I think we have a pretty simplistic view of the mind. We actually have many, many different aspects to our mind. We tend to think of it as just that kind of analytical part, right? But there's actually many, many different aspects to the mind. We're going to look at activating the other intelligences, right? Particularly your intuition. And the intuition is such a huge part of our birthright. And human design shows us that actually intuition is the number one way of knowing in the human design chart. There are 3 primary ways of knowing that we get through the different circuits that come right in here through the head, right? And so we have the left brain energy, we've got the right brain energy, and right here in the middle, we've got the knowing or the Gnostic circuit. And this is intuition. Interesting, right? So we'll take a look at that in human design. Then we're also going to look at this right-brained energy, which comes down over the left-hand part of the body, right? Which is our creative energy, our creative mind. This is experiential, it's embodied, it's expansive. It's where we connect to the creative intelligence of the universe through that right-brained energy in that particular way. And this is the sensing circuit or the miracle circuit in human design. So we'll take a look at that too. And then we're also going to look at body wisdom, because here's the thing is our intuition and our creativity comes through our form, right? It comes through our body. We express ourselves through our bodies. And if we're just kind of walking around living up in here in our analytical minds, we're not accessing the information, the intuition and the creative information, the spiritual information and the guidance that can come to us through the body. So I invite you to come and join us and check it out. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be eye-opening, inspiring, and I think it's going to be really liberating. It's going to really help you to understand some things that you can do right now to help unleash yourself, and also to get a much deeper sense of what's possible for you. So I look forward to seeing you then, July 17th to the 21st. Just go ahead and register here at the link that's showing here, and also it'll be down in the description. Okay, many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.